the way, Glenn. We'll need you off that.
My God. Oh my God. Where am I?
Over to you. Over to you, Glenn.
Kia ora koutou. Thank you, Suzanne. Ko Glenn Asma toko ingoa. As Suzanne said, I'm an Associate Head of Funding at Irarangi Te Motu, New Zealand On Air. Thank you for attending this afternoon. This webinar is for you to ask questions and seek clarification on any aspects of our priorities for around Toru or the application process. We'll quickly go over the specifics of the round and then we can answer questions. Before we do that, I'd like to get the other members of the funding team on the call to introduce themselves. So maybe if I throw to Stephen.
Kia ora, Glenn, and hello everyone. I'm Stephen. I am part of the funding team here, and my speciality patch is looking at development funding. I'm throwing over to Hannah.
Kia ora. Tēnā koe Kohana tōku ingoa ko o te kaiwhakahaere tahua putea. I am the funding administrator here, so I look after sort of like all the background fun stuff that the funding advisors don't get to do. Yeah, and pretty junior member, so I try to help where I can. And that's me. Ke hea koe Gabrielle.
Kia ora koutou. My name's Gabrielle. I've come from the public interest journalism team and now part of the funding team, and I'm based in Auckland. I don't think there is anyone else from the funding team on the call, so maybe I'll just hand back to Glenn.
Well, thank you. So funding advisors that are absent today are Hepari Mita, who's also based in Tamaki, Anna Curry, who's recently come back from mat leave, and Kelly Davis, who is an Associate Head of Funding, and Nicole Rex, who looks after our community partners. So if you have questions that arise after this hui, then you can reach out to any one of us in the team. Our emails are all on the website, so you can track us down in the About section and our team section on the website. Alternatively, you can send an inquiry to funding@nzonair.govt.nz, and Hannah will either answer your question or she'll ask a funding advisor to contact you directly. So don't panic if you have questions that arise after the hui. Just another kind of housekeeping note, it's Waitangi Day next Tuesday, and next week many of our staff are taking leave on Monday to enjoy a long weekend before the hard mahi of the round starts next Friday. So we encourage you to register on the portal early if you aren't already, and to get your application started as soon as possible. So if you've got any queries or problems, these can be sorted before you start panicking at 3:55 next Thursday. Another general note, this is a really busy round. There's a lot going on. So alongside our usual non-fiction, scripted and development streams, we're also accepting applications for the TMP co-fund, applications for Māori-owned production companies as part of our special one-off 10 million funding we received in budget 2023. And we're also receiving full proposals for the Within My Reach Youth Initiative and the Aotearoa New Zealand Pacific Regional Media Fund. So that's a lot for us to be doing in this round. Also, I should mention the TMP co-fund applications go through TMP's portal, and any queries on process or technical issues you've got with uploading those applications, you should direct to them in the first instance. So let's briefly run through a couple of slides to revisit the scope of the round. And the first one up should be timeline, if Hannah can share her screen, who's sitting next to me, which is why I'm looking to my right. Yeah. obviously, the important thing on timeline is the fact that the round closes next Thursday at 4 o'clock. And remember that we won't be around for any partai on Monday or Tuesday next week. So tomorrow, Wednesday, if you've got problems, get in contact with us as soon as possible. So next slide. As I mentioned, we got some additional putia in budget 2023, $10 million as a one-off funding stream. Part of that, $2 million of that has been put aside for projects from Māori-owned production companies. This supports our statutory responsibilities to encourage Māori culture and identity and te reo, and also supports our Rautaki Māori. I would just highlight that this is for new projects only, so not returning theories, and then the other details are on the slide there. We would see our usual standard application requirements apply to these projects. Next slide is non-fiction. Cool. There's a relatively small amount of putia available for this round, $6 million. So in our guidelines for the round, we've highlighted that we're looking for higher end projects with scale and high production values that are ready to go into production. If you've got any queries on that, give me a bell. And the next three slides, Stephen will talk you through, which are scripted spur and content development. Go, Stephen.
Thank you, Dan. Alrighty, so as you can see, a minimum of 10.5 million allocated for this round. We will be looking at funding projects across all three of the tiers. Tier 1 being projects seeking over 3 million. Tier 2, projects seeking between 1 and 3 million. And Tier 3, projects which are under $1 million. All genres, and that's about it for scripted. If you have any questions on that later, just sing out. Next slide, please, Hannah. Okay, screen production rebate. We are accepting applications that are looking to include spur as part of their finance plan. For this round, we're looking to be the last in funders, which means you should have the rest of your funding lined up already and just need us to get you over the line, rather than the first round of the year when we were able to be first in. This is just to ensure that the funds that we have set aside for spur seeking projects isn't sitting in hold for too long. Next slide, please. And development, which is my key area. This round, it's open to supported development applications only, which means you will need to have a platform attached and has matched funding for this round. Please and thank you. If you have any direct questions on development, you can email me or have them for the end of this session. Next.
Feedback to me. So scripted sync licensing. This is a relatively new initiative that we've got that supports our overall music mahi, and it's designed to try and get more local music into scripted projects. You can apply for up to 250K. If that money is approved, whatever, that it doesn't have to be fully 250K, but whatever funding is approved, it is ring fenced and must be spent in that space. And the note with regards to the cost can be excluded when calculating platforms license fees. Some platforms, platform contribution is based on a percentage. And in order to support sync licensing, we don't want platforms to push down production budgets artificially in order to allow for sync licensing, hence that kind of requirement, or that allowance, I should say. So, yeah, that's sync licensing, a good initiative. Marketing and publicity, again, this is a relatively new area for us where we are trying to support producers to self-promote their content as platforms find it increasingly difficult to put the level of resource they used to against the promotion of funded content. All the details are there. So it's up to 15K or 10% of the production, and the money should be spent on that. It can't be reallocated within the production budget to other cost areas. So that sync licensing and marketing and publicity are both areas where we're putting in additional putea, and it must be spent in the area that is agreed. Next slide. Tamariki children. So we're looking for multi-platform projects with strong strategies for reaching the target audience. As in previous rounds, YouTube is an acceptable primary platform or secondary platform, but you do need a local platform as well. So we've got a pathway to a local audience. That's a requirement that's still in place. How long that goes for is under constant review, but at this stage you can go on YouTube, but you still need a local platform as a pathway to a local audience. Cool, and I think the next one is rangatahi youth. So the main area of work that we're doing in the space is obviously the initiative where we're accepting the final proposals for what's it called? Within My Reach initiative. So we called for RFP. We had an RFP for applications in a previous round. This is the round where those selected projects are putting in their final proposals. I don't know if Thomas is on the call yet, but he can definitely answer questions if you have them when we get to the end of going through the slides, which we're nearly there. Don't panic.
Thomas is online, Glenn, if you
Yeah.
want to add anything, Thomas.
Yeah, go for it.
No, just kia ora. Hello.
Well, and along with those finalist proposals, we will look at other rangatahi youth projects, but as the slide says, targeted at an older age group, and there'll only be a limited opportunity to fund those as well, just because the round will be highly contested, given all the various things that are going on in it. And the last slide, I think, for priorities is games. And again, it's a fairly narrow window of opportunity, which is that we are only looking at applications for projects that we have previously developed in the gaming sector. And as noted in this slide, we're kind of reviewing and working on a strategy for games going into the next financial year, which starts with around tahi. And the round opens, I think, in April with decisions in early July. So that's the priorities for the round. I think Hannah is now going to go through some of the process stuff, and then we can get to your questions. Over to you, Hannah.
Thank you, Glenn. Sorry, I wanted to do that bit. Hello, really fun stuff now, I know. So applying through our funding portal, Tahua, the first point, register early. So we check for new registrations on the day, but currently this is a manual process that yours truly has to do. So it may take a few days to be approved, especially during high volume seasons. So most of you will already have registered, but for those of you who are new to our funding process, it goes like just any other registration. You get an email to confirm your submission, and then I do the approving, and then you get a confirmation email to say that you're all good to start applying through the portal. Yeah, so if you haven't done so yet, do it now. Why not? Before the weekend would probably be best actually for round Toru because of the timings. Cool. Next point, applications can be started and saved for later, and this is even more reason to register as soon as possible. Start your applications and add to it as you go. To double down on the benefits of registering and applying early, if you have any questions while you're filling out your application, you can always get in touch with any patai as you go. And Also, applications can be edited after submission as well, as long as the round is open. So if you submit today and you want to change something next Wednesday, you can do it. You just have to remember to check in that submit button at the end one more time. And last one for the slide, round close reminders. So if you've applied in recent rounds, you may have noticed that you receive an email a day or two before the round closes. We used to give you a call before, but due to the large volume of applicants, we've farmed this job out to the machines. Sorry. So yeah, if you're concerned about making it into the round by the deadline, please get in touch ASAP. I will be there for you as much as I humanly can within my work hours. Anyway, moving on. Sorry, I'm not a great public speaker, so I have to throw in jokes to like changes to our application form. Let's forge ahead. So, okay, this is going to be a really fun slide. Because we have all the bells and whistles in round Toru, there are some extra questions in the application form this round. Let's see. So in the project details section, if you are applying for through the Within My Reach Youth RFP, then you do have a self-identifying question here. Shortlisted applicants should know that there is a separate funding round for you to go into, but if they happen to miss it, or if it's a youth project that wasn't shortlisted, you can yes or no here. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, probably best to click no. Yeah. Carrying on. And as Glenn mentioned, as usual, we are doing the stats collection for whether or not you are a multi-business. And on our new application form, if you click yes, then we have a self-identifiable question once again. If you would like to be considered in the $2 million allocation for multi-owned businesses. Right-o. Budget. So lots of little changes to this page, but I promise it is not as hectic as it looks. The first question here is regarding the screen production rebate. This is a required field for all scripted projects. Self-identification here for you once again, and this will help us when we're organizing ourselves after all the applications are in. Cool. And per Glenn, we are putting some emphasis on applicants to make use of both music sync licensing and marketing and publicity costs. So the very first value to be filled out is your production funding requested from New Zealand On Air. And we're just splitting the sync licensing and marketing and publicity costs out from this so that we know what you're intending to do with the money. Sorry, yep, didn't think that one through before this slide. Anyway, so what this means at the total line down at the bottom is the total amount requested from New Zealand On Air in the application. Yeah, and we've already had some really good feedback from applicants about this section. So apologies for any confusion. And yeah, hopefully this clears some things up and we'll try and think of a better way to do this next time. Anyway, and down the bottom of that yellow box there, we have a safeguard built in just to make sure that we're double checking our numbers, because if you're intending to apply for 100K, you don't want to accidentally submit it for 10K. Right on. So moving along, down the page we go to additional finance. So this table used to be a part of a bigger table with the other stuff up top, but we've split that up. And as you can see, you can add extra rows if you're doing some spur goodness and you have extra contributions to your budget, add them there, and it gives you a nice little total down the bottom. And of course, keeping the non-cash contributions field for anything other than. Right. And then further down the page, there's more. Another new question. Please indicate here whether you are interested in being considered for a discoverability campaign with Contagion, and some more info there on the blue link if you follow that through. Yeah, we weren't really sure where we were going to put this question in the application form, so it's ended up here. So now you know. Yeah. Cool.
Can I just jump in and just say that that is in addition to the 15K. So that contagion marketing is an additional potential marketing campaign that would be over and above 15K that was allowed in your budget. Cool.
Kapai. And this brings us to the very fun last page of our application form this year, this round. We had a fair number of non-submissions in the previous few rounds, so we've just added another beautiful safeguard to make sure all required fields are completed when you click that submit button. So if you don't see green ticks down the side of your applications, you gotta go back, fill them out. Yeah. And yeah, I just wanted to mention as a closing remark for my section that we have a lot of great resources on our website, ranging from the investment principles, which guide our application and assessment criteria, right down to how to structure your applications and budget expectations. So if you do have any issues with the portal or have questions about your application, yeah, give us a shout at funding@newzealandonair.govt.nz. Email is the best way to get in touch with us. Yeah, I check this inbox every day, so we'll try and get back to you ASAP. Back to you, Glenn.
Or in fact, back to Suzanne. She's wrangling questions. I think
I am wrangling questions. I'm just looking. I'm not seeing any hands raised as such in the Zoom reactions, but perhaps if you've got a question, literally raise your hand and jump in and ask. Might be the easiest way to go about it.
yeah, with a commentary on our website documents, apologies in advance. Some of them are a little old. The information is still valid and correct, but it possibly refers to the New Zealand Media Fund, which is no longer the funding strategy that we work under. We've now got a new investment strategy. So Anna, who's just recently returned to the team, that's one of her priorities, is to go through our documentation and just update it. But if you open something and think that and have a query about whether it's still relevant, just fire us a question and we will answer that for you.
No, good call, Glenn. With any questions? Oh yes, Kate, fire away.
Kia ora. Thank you for that information. That's great. I have a show that we're putting in, which is a non-fiction show, but it's not of the higher level, but it's also a youth show. Is there a way that I can cross-contaminate between the two different kind of funds? Well, two different sections.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, basically, you can't be part of the initiative that Thomas is overseeing, because that's kind of a process that's halfway through.
Yeah.
I think I would still put it in. Obviously, we've said our priority is to look at higher end, large scale projects in this round, but who knows if we're going to get them, because they will require probably linear platforms to support those applications to come in. And so depending on their level of putia that they can contribute. So I think it's worth putting in. If you're unsuccessful, then there's obviously the opportunity to come back into round tahi. Yeah. And maybe I'm just thinking of the timelines for that as well, because you won't know. Yes, you will know. You should know in time to make an application to round tahi. Yeah. So yeah, go with it if you've got a platform. And Thomas has got some.
Yeah, just to say that youth projects should also take into mind the youth strategy and the learnings that we've done about the audience, even if they have a local commissioning platform. So there's been a lot of really good research into what works for young people, and that's obviously informed within my Reach Kaupapa. But any projects that are going for youth should really kind of embed that strategy and those learnings into their distribution campaigns and their content.
So call Thomas and get a download.
Okay, I'll call Thomas.
Good call, Thomas. Any other questions? Now's your opportunity.
I have an email question that came through earlier
Right.
today. Let's see. So this person asking for a friend. So my friend is wanting to apply, and the application sits within like the 50 to 100K request size. So there's a lot of like crossover between roles, and it's a smaller team size. Is there anything they should be aware of when they're applying at that scale, or is there any specific advice or guidance available for smaller projects like my friend is applying with?
It's a good call. I mean, without knowing what the project is or who the intended audience is, it's kind of tricky to answer. I guess I would advise them to give us a call, because it possibly doesn't sit outside the mainstream of what we are most often funding, which is not to say that we wouldn't be interested if it speaks to a particular audience that is a priority for us, that we have difficulty getting other projects for. So yeah, I would pick up the phone in that instance and have a chat.
Any other questions, people? Right, I think we're quite quiet on the call now. So yeah, anything else to add, I guess, funding team? Oh, apologies, Gayleen, would you like to ask something? Jumping off mute. No, no luck. Hang on, I can do that. I can unmute you perhaps, and I can ask you to.
Thank you. Kia ora koutou. I just have one minor question. In the section of the application where the money set aside for music and the money set aside for publicity is mentioned, and then it says total, but it also then says total amount requested from New Zealand On Air. And I want to know, is that the total amount requested from New Zealand On Air, or is it the total amount after the request for those two sections?
Good question, and apologies. As Hannah alluded to, the formatting of that is not optimum, and we apologize, and we'll make it better next time. I think so. The first, in that particular table, the first column should be the amount you're asking from New Zealand On Air, less any sync licensing, less any marketing, and therefore the total that you get at the bottom should be the total that you're asking from New Zealand On Air. I think Hannah has amended the form so that there's a little bracket that says the amount you're asking from New Zealand On Air minus sync licensing minus publicity. But agree, it's confusing.
Okay, so it's not the total which is included within the budget. It's right. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. All good. Nice to see you.
Ditto.
Any other questions hovering out there? Yes, far away, Steph.
Kia ora koutou. I just wanted to a quick question about if I wanted to call someone and ask about tamariki funding, is there a specific person I should contact?
That's a good question. I would have a couple of months ago said Hepari, but I think Hepari feels like he's done children's for a while. So I would just fire it through funding and we will assign it to someone who can speak to you about it. But yeah. Okay. So yeah, I can't identify anyone particularly at the moment.
Okay, cool, thanks.
But we all love the children's programs. So we'll all treat you with respect.
Great, thanks.
All extremely capable. Any other questions?
Kia ora.
Paula, yes.
This is probably a really numpty question, I apologise, but because we're a little bit late to the party in terms of getting our thoughts and application underway, does the application need to be under a production company or can it be in the name of an individual?
I think you can submit it as an individual. Like you need to obviously have a login. So if you've got a login under, Paula Penfold, then that's fine. If funding's approved, then obviously you need to have a structure in place. And I think possibly it would be good to just allude to the fact that you're applying as an individual, but you intend to create an entity to contract with if you're successful with funding.
Tēnā koe.
Cool.
Can't see any other questions. I guess last call on questions, perhaps.
It's feeling like an auction.
It is feeling like an auction, isn't it? Galen, is that one from you, or you've just...
No.
Sorry,
getting
you're
ready to
off
go and
mute.
have a
I
cup of
wondered.
tea.
It's all right. No pressure.
Cup of tea and I'll lie down, dessert for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, obviously you were very thorough there, Glenn, and the rest of the team. Okay, well, shall we leave it there? Obviously, Hannah has given you a pretty good idea of where you can go to find out more information or how to email us to ask further questions. So really appreciate you all taking the time to join us today. And with that, I think we'll leave you to your day, as Glenn said. So ka kite. Kia ora koutou.